Hey first graders, it's Mrs. Miles. Welcome to Studio 1. Oh, wait a minute. Welcome to Mrs. Miles' living room. So even though we're in my living room, we can still learn. Today we're going to talk a little bit about contractions. So first, I'd like to share with you a book about a pretty important part of a contraction. Let me introduce you to him. This is Alfie, the apostrophe. And next to him, you probably see some familiar punctuation that we've worked a lot with. You see period and you see question mark. But today we're going to talk a little bit about apostrophe and his job in the contraction. So let's take a look at Alfie. Alfie curled his mashed potatoes around on his plate and wished he could disappear. The annual punctuation mark talent show auditions were tomorrow, and he didn't want to try out. "But Alfie," said his father, "you worked so hard on your contraction tricks all summer long. And what you've been doing with possessives lately has been magic," said his mother. His parents didn't understand. An apostrophe couldn't compete with question marks and exclamation points in a talent show. "Besides," said his father, "you have to uphold the noble apostrophe tradition. After all, we've descended from the ancient Greeks. At least our name is Greek." "What does it mean?" "Look it up," said his father. Alfie looked up apostrophe in the dictionary. It came from the Greek word meaning turning away, as in turning away letters to make contractions, he thought. Cool. Maybe he should try out, but first he better practice some more. In his bedroom, he set up his first trick, but he couldn't find his magic wand. Then he saw it on top of a pile of half-chewed dog toys. Alfie held his wand under the light to inspect it. Only a few tooth marks. It should still work. He put on his white magician's glove and went through his routine. But when he got to his final trick, he couldn't do it. He couldn't remember the magic words. "Alfie, it's past your bedtime," called his mother. He knew he had to stop. He could only hope the trick would work tomorrow. After science the next day, Alfie's teacher led all the punctuation marks to the auditorium. The director stood on the stage and spoke into his megaphone. "Welcome. I am the very talented stage and screen star, Bud Asterisk, and I'm going to lead your talent show this year. I also work at the Astor School of Dance, where I teach one of your classmates, Hiram the Hyphen." Everyone looked at Hiram, who was turning red and probably wishing he could dash away. "Well, let's get started. Question marks, why don't you go first?" Several question marks stood up and hopped onto the stage. "Why did the cows cross the road?" "I don't know. Why?" "So he could get to the movie." Everyone laughed out loud. The question marks told jokes and riddles until the director yelled, "Cut! That was great! Who wants to go next?" "We do!" yelled a group of exclamation points dressed in cheerleader costumes. They ran on stage. "Go team go! Fight team fight! Win team win!" they yelled. Then they did flips in the air and made a pyramid. Finally, they beat their pom-poms together and yelled, "Yay! Yay! Yay!" The class applauded. Alfie sank deeper into his seat. He didn't stand a chance. Then the parentheses took their places for double Dutch jump rope with some commas and quotation marks. But a comma fell and the ropes twisted together. "Cut!" yelled Mr. Asterisk. Let's move on while they untangle themselves. Who's next? A group of periods and hyphens ran on stage. They called themselves the Dots and Dashes, and they performed a short tap dance. At the end, they tapped out SOS in Morse code. Boring, thought Alfie, but Mr. Asterisk yelled, Stellar! Of course, Hiram was his star pupil. Well, said Mr. Asterisk, when the periods and hyphens were finished, that's a wrap. I'll post a list of the winners tomorrow. Alfie raised his hand. Excuse me, he said. I haven't gone yet. Mr. Asterisk frowned in his direction. Sorry, kid, I already called the commas. But I'm not a comma. I'm an apostrophe, said Alfie. A what? An apostrophe. It's Greek. Hey, it's all Greek to me. Get up there and show me what you got. Alfie approached the stage carrying his folded up table and magic props. Look, it's the apostrophe, yelled one of the quotation marks. Aren't you missing something? Yelled his twin. Alfie ignored them. Quotation marks were often filled with hot air, but he felt like it was snowing inside his tummy the way it did when he was about to cry. He carefully unfolded his table and covered it with a black cloth. What are you going to do? Asked a question mark. You'll see, he said. Alfie pulled out the words can and not and placed them on the table. He covered them with a red scarf, said his magic words, and tapped 3 times with his magic wand. Slowly, he lifted the scarf, hoping the trick had worked. 2 letters had disappeared, and the contraction can't appeared. The audience oohed and awed. Alfie felt the snowflakes in his tummy melt. The next trick was harder because he had to transform letters. This time he took will and not and covered them with a yellow scarf. He said his magic words and tapped the top of the scarf. Poof! A puff of purple smoke whooshed up and he lifted the scarf. He had changed will and not into won't. The audience broke into applause. Now for my last trick. Can I have a volunteer from the audience? Alfie asked. Several marks raised their hand. He picked a period named Dot because she had been first. Dot stepped up onto the stage. Stand right there, said Alfie, pointing to one side of the stage. Then he showed the audience a doll. His possessive trick was the hardest and hadn't worked last night. Alfie felt it starting to snow in his tummy again. Abracadabra. No, that wasn't right. Hocus pocus. That wasn't right either. What were the words? He looked out at the audience. The spotlights were blinding. Lights. That was it. Alfie chanted, when clouds have gone and lights have shone, watch this doll become Dot's own. A huge cloud of black smoke covered the stage. Then it shimmered and twinkled like 1,000 fireflies and faded away. When the smoke cleared, the doll had disappeared. Alfie pointed to Dot. She held up the doll. Dot's doll, he said, and took a deep bow. The audience cheered, and Alfie the apostrophe became the show's shining star. Alrighty, friends, let's take a look, a sneak peek. You know, magicians don't really reveal their tricks, but we're going to kind of reveal Alfie the apostrophe's trick today as we work together to figure out how words can be put together, magic can happen, and poof, turn them into contractions. So, I have Alfie's words that Alfie's words that he did. He took the words can and not, and he put them together. And we can see that it makes a compound word. Remember when we practiced those, putting two words together to make a new word? Only contractions do a little bit something different. Instead of combining them together, that's when Alfie the apostrophe is going to do his magic. He's going to push some letters out of the way, make them disappear, and he is going to take their place. So Alfie placed a scarf over it so we can't see it, but for this I'm going to show you it because I want you to see what happens. So he put the scarf over, he said abracadabra, and some of the letters disappeared, and he, the apostrophe, took their place. So in the words can and not, the N and the O disappeared. There they are. And the apostrophe took their place. So we still have the T from the not, and we have the first can. So sometimes you might hear me call Alfie the apostrophe a pushy apostrophe because he pushes some of the letters out of the place of the words and takes their spot. Let's try a couple more. All right. So I'm going to show you on my computer here. Oh, you can see the glare on my window. Hopefully I can fix that. There we go. So here you can see I took the words we and will. When we stick them together, there's we will. But the apostrophe is going to push a few of those letters out of the place and out of the way and take their place. So it looks like wheel. If we go back to we and will, you can see that pushy apostrophe pushed out the W and pushed out the I and took their place. See, they used to go right here. And the LL stay the same. Let's look at another one. Here we have the words we and are. If we stick them together, we've got we are. But Alfie the apostrophe would say his magic words and push some letters out of the way and turn it into we're. So if you remember, we had we and we had are back there. So you can see Alfie the apostrophe pushed A out of the way and took its place to change we are into we're. Here we've got the words she and will. Put them together, we've got she will. But of course, Alfie the apostrophe pushed a few letters out of the way. You can see there's the she. He pushed the W and the I out of the way and took its place to turn she will into she'll. Here is they are. Stick them together, we've got they are. But Alfie the apostrophe would say his magic words, and you can see he took the place of the A in are to change they are into there. Oh, and I think that is my last one. So friends, your next job is on Seesaw. I have put an activity where I've got two of the words and I've got lots of contractions. Your job is to read the sets of two words. You'll probably see Alfie's example in there of can and not. And your job is to figure out which contraction could be made from the two words that are put on there. So you'll go ahead and drag them next to the right answer, and then you'll submit it right in your ELA folder on Seesaw. And as you are reading your books throughout this week, I challenge you to take a look at some contractions. They're easy to find because you just look for that little apostrophe up in the middle of words. And if you find some, show me what you find. Maybe take a picture of it or write it down or point it out to your mom and dad so that way you can be on the lookout for lots of apostrophes. So thanks for joining me in Mrs. Miles' Studio One living room. I'll see you later, friends.